Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Yesterday we have gone through future epics, right? So today let's start with curable schedulable epics. Let other people join the session so that we can start. Let's wait for 5 more minutes. So hello guys. Yesterday we have gone through the future epics, right? So everyone understood that future epics. Or if you have any queries regarding that future methods, asynchronous future methods, you can ask me now. Few people have joined the session, so let's wait for 5 more minutes. Until then, you can ask if you have any doubts on asynchronous future methods. Hello guys. Okay, now let's start the session. Let's start with batch apex today. Let me share my screen for that. So what we have discussed yesterday, we have discussed how to write test classes. We have discussed test classes best practices, how to test data, what methods we need to use while calling the classes in test classes, and for creating our own data, which annotations are used, and why see all data is equals to true is not necessary. Okay, what kind of scenarios we need to test while testing our class, and what kind of tests we need to perform, need to write, and also what kind of coverage we need to maintain. Okay, all these kind of stuff we have seen, and also we have seen the asynchronous epochs. In that asynchronous epochs, we have gone through future methods. A future method which runs in the background asynchronously. Asynchronously in the sense, guys, what is asynchronously? Asynchronous in the sense, what what is called asynchronous? If we run classes in asynchronous, what happens? How they will be run? Running at same thing. No, Pranit. Running at same time in the background. Yes, in a separate in a separate thread, guys. Okay, running in the background, separate, yes, independently in a separate thread without disturbing the main thread. Okay, without disturbing the main thread, they will be running in the background without waiting for other things to run. Okay, so it will not block the main thread, and without blocking the main thread, it will be running in the background in the separate thread. So this is asynchronous future method. Not only the future method, that is what asynchronous means. Okay, that is what asynchronous means. And the next thing is we have batch apex, schedulable apex, and queuable apex. Okay, so these kind of asynchronous methods we have batch, queuable, and schedulable apex. Okay. What batch apex is? What batch apex does? Divides. What batch apex does? Divides records into batches on which we are performing operations. Okay. So what is the minimum batch size? What is the minimum batch size? Yes, I have already explained what is the minimum batch size and maximum batch size. Yes, divides into smaller chunks. Different batches. It will be dividing into different batches. Correct, Pranit? So, what is the minimum batch size? I've already explained you the minimum batch size, maximum batch size, and default batch size. Have any idea about that? I've already told you yesterday. Okay, that's fine. So, minimum batch size is 1. Okay. Then, what is the maximum batch size? Maximum batch size is 2000. Okay. Maximum batch size is 2000. Then what is the default batch size? Default batch size will be 200. If you not provided, like if you don't provide what is the batch size is, if you don't provide what the batch size is, it will take by default 200. 200 is the batch size. If you are performing operations on 2000 records and you did not specify any batch size, what it will do? It will execute 200 records per batch. So how many batches it will execute? 10 batches. So if you specify the batch size as 1000 or 2000, so it will be running in a one batch or two batches. Okay. So this is the batchable apex, how it will be run. So let's see what batch apex is and how we'll be using this batch apex. Okay, why this is used? To run large jobs, whatever the large like long running operations. Whenever we are performing operations on millions of records, we will be going with the batch apex, and that would exceed normal processing limits. So whenever you are going with the millions of records, if you want to query more records, like let's take as an example, you want to query million records. So what will you do? You will write a query first. So how many records query can retrieve? How many records a single query can retrieve? Guys, anyone? Can you answer this? How many records can a single SOQL query can retrieve? How many records can a single SOQL query can retrieve? Okay, don't you know that? Guys, if you know the answer, please kindly put it on chat. Or if you don't know, please say that we don't know. Okay, so that I can explain you better. So if you don't answer, what should I think? You guys know, or you don't know, or you're sleeping. I don't know what you're doing, right? So please answer the question. If you don't know, please say it is not, I don't know that answer. That is nice, right? Yes, Murali Krishna, that's fine. The 150 limit is for creating at single time, right? Yes, Pranit. 150 DML statement limit is for if you are performing same, if for example, if you are performing 150 DML statements in a single class, if you are performing 150 DML statements in a single class and you are trying to insert one more record, then you will be getting a more than it's like more number of DML statements, 151. Okay, you'll be getting that exception. So if you don't perform, like, if you have taken a list to store those records, and for inserting also, you have stored records in a list and you have inserted the list, and that list has more than 150 records, let's say 200. Okay, it will be existing, like it will be inserting with using one single DML statement. Okay, it, whenever you are creating at a same time, if you guys are not using collections to store records at that time, you are writing individual insert statement for every single record. So whenever you are writing like that, you people will get a too many DML statements exception. Okay, so you don't know that how many records can a single query can retrieve from one Apex class. So in one Apex transaction, you have a 100 SOQL queries limit. So in one Apex class, you can write 100 SOQL queries, right? For each SOQL query, not for 100 SOQL queries, guys, remember. For each SOQL query, you can retrieve 50,000 records. Okay, for each SOQL query, you can retrieve 50,000 records. So, like this, if you write two SOQL queries in single Apex class, what happens? Single Apex method, not class, guys, method. In a single Apex method, if you write two SOQL queries, you are able to retrieve 1 lakh records per transaction. So for one Apex class, you are able to retrieve 1 lakh 1 lakh Salesforce records. Okay. So with that would exceed normal processing limits. So whenever you are retrieving millions of records, it is not possible with a synchronous governor limits, because even though there is no difference between SOQL queries and the records retrieved from that SOQL queries. See, for a synchronous transaction and for asynchronous transaction, the governor limits for SOQL queries is 100, and the number of records retrieved from SOQL queries is 50,000. If you go and see here, Apex governor limits, see how many number of SOQL queries issued? 100. In the synchronous transaction, 100. In asynchronous transaction, that is 200. So you can write 200 SOQL queries in asynchronous limit. So whenever your total number of records retrieved by SOQL query, this is same. You can retrieve only 50,000 records. So if you can write SOQL queries more than 200, more than 100 in asynchronous limit also, but the records retrieved is 50,000. So when we go to asynchronous limit, so even though these are same, even though these records are same, but why we are going to the asynchronous? Okay, the retrieved records are same, 50,000 records, but why we are going to asynchronous asynchronous Apex methods? Because here, go down, if you see here, what is the maximum CPU time of Salesforce servers? That is for synchronous transaction 10,000 milliseconds. In the sense 10 seconds. So when you go to asynchronous transactions, it is 60,000 milliseconds. In the sense, 1 minute. So 60 seconds. So this is only 10 seconds and asynchronous 60 seconds. So there is a difference, 50 seconds of difference is there. So we'll go with the asynchronous limit. Whenever we are performing millions of record operations, at that time we might get the CPU timeout exception. What CPU timeout exception means? So maximum CPU time is 10 seconds and that transaction is taking more than 10 seconds. So whenever the transaction takes more than 10 seconds of execution time, what it does, it will give us maximum CPU timeout exception. Okay, whatever the seconds that is performed, that many seconds will be there over there. Okay, so the limit is 10 seconds. If it exceeds, we'll get an exception, maximum CPU timeout exception. So to avoid that exception, we as a Salesforce developers follow asynchronous transactions when we went with the millions of records to perform operations. Okay, this is the major difference why we'll go with the asynchronous limits. Okay, this was the major difference why we'll choose asynchronous when we are performing large number of operations. Okay, as it has 60 seconds of CPU timeout. So that is about exceeding governor limits. So without exceeding normal processing limits. What is normal processing limits? For asynchronous, it is 10 seconds. And for asynchronous, it is 60 seconds. So without exceeding this normal 60 seconds of CPU time, without exceeding 60 seconds of CPU time, this batch apex will be processing the millions of records. Okay. Using batch apex, you can process records asynchronously in batches. So, while using batch apex, you can perform operations on records asynchronously using batches. You can use different kinds of, you can use different number of batches according to your requirement. If your batch size is 200, for 2000 records, it will be 10 batches. Correct? And also for every batch, the governor limits will be resetted. Okay? For every batch, the governor limits will be resetted. If you have a lot of records to process, whenever you are having lot of records to process, and here there is an example. For example, data cleaning and archiving. So whenever you are going with that type of examples, you will go with the batch apex and keeping those records in different batches and running those batches. Okay, a batch class allows you to define a single job that can be broken up into manageable chunks. As Pranat said, that will be broken up into small chunks. He said it will be dividing into small chunks, right? So same like that, it will be the single job is broken up into manageable chunks, and also that manageable chunks will be processed separately, not with what one not with depending on each other, but they are processing separately. Okay, so that every manageable chunk can be resetting their governor limits, can be resetting their own governor limits. For every manageable chunk, the fresh governor limits will be issued. Okay, to write a batch class, you must implement database.batchable interface and override three methods. Okay. What is this database.batchable? I have a class name called my class. I have a class name called my class. Now I want to implement batchable interface. Can you guys write the syntax in chat? How to implement my class with batchable interface? And remember guys, that is not a class. Batchable interface is the interface. Now I want to implement batchable interface. My class name is my class. Now I want the syntax. How can I implement this batchable interface? Batchable interface. Can you please write the syntax for me? Can you guys please write the syntax for me in the chat box? Guys, quick. I don't know how to implement the batchable interface to my class. So please guide me how to implement batchable interface for my class name called my class. Fast guys. Please let me know if you don't know the answer. Don't sit quiet guys. Okay. So do you know Pranit how to extend another class using this class? How to extend another class using this class? My class. So guys, the name itself says we need to extend another class and we need to implement an interface. The name itself is saying the syntax is my class implements. My class is the class name. Class keyword, class, my class is my class name. My class implements is a keyword again. Implements is a keyword again. You need to use implements keyword. That's what you need to do now. Okay, class, my class implements. What I need to implement? Batchable interface. Correct? So can you please write the syntax now? I have explained you how to implement that. Can you please write the syntax now? Quick guys. 1 minute. Till then you guys write the syntax, okay? How we'll write the class, Pranath? How we'll declare the class? Public static class correct? How we'll declare the class? Let me show you the class first. Okay. And let me close this. Let me open my Salesforce org. So in my Salesforce org, let me go to developer console and show you the class. So see, let it complete, guys. Mixed DML examples is my class name. Correct, Pranit? Mixed DML examples is public class test. Okay, so you have written the syntax for creating a class. Nice, that's good. Now, how to implement interface for that? After class name, class is the keyword, test is the class name. And after class name, implements is again a keyword. Okay. What you have to do is you just need to use implement keyword to implement the interface. So can you just write the syntax for that also? Public class test you have written. This is the syntax for creating test class, right? This is the syntax for creating a class in Apex. So how can you implement? After test class name, after class name, we have to write implement keyword, and after that, whatever the interface you are implementing, you should write that. So I'm implementing batchable dot. I'm implementing batchable interface. So you can see here, I'm implementing batchable interface. So what is this? Database dot batchable. Okay. So that is what I'm implementing. Can you write that? So see guys, the syntax is the syntax is public class. Let's take test as class name. Implements database dot batchable. Inside this we can write any S object. Okay. This is how we will implement the interfaces. Okay. This is how we will implement the interfaces. This is the syntax for implementing batchable interface. Understood? Pranit, now you got the steps. Understood everyone? How to implement interface? Okay. So now if you want to extend another class, have asked you another question, right, Pranit? If you want to extend another class, in the place of implements, you can write extends. In the place of implements, you can write extends. And in the place of interface, you can write the class name. Okay. In the place of interface, you can write the class name. This is how you need to implement or extend the interfaces, or classes. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So, this is the process how we need to implement or extend the classes or interfaces. Now, let's quickly move to the next one. So, what is the usage of why we need to use this batch epics? Why we need to use? Okay. And there are tips to use batch epics. Okay. So, let's see that. Okay. So, what is the tip here? Use meaningful batch sizes. So, giving 1,000, 2,000 batch size to as there is a maximum of batch size 2,000. We can't give. We should not give 2,000 for better performance. Okay, when you want a better performance, you just give batch size 500, batch size 500 to 600. That's minimum batch size, not minimum batch size provided by batch apex, but the batch size that balances the performance. Okay, and use meaningful batch sizes 100 to 500. This is the meaningful batch size. So why it is used? It balances the performance and limit usage. Whatever the limits that Apex provided us, we call that as a governor limits. So it will balances the usage of those limits. Okay. Handle exceptions inside execute method. So don't try to handle exceptions outside the execute method. So it is not a correct way. Okay. Prevent one, why it is matters? Prevent one record from failing the whole batch. Prevent one record from failing the whole batch. Whenever one record is failing, if you don't use that try catch blocks, that exception handling thing kind of things, if you don't want those kind of things, if one record fails from batch, total batch will be failed. Okay, if one record fails from one batch, the total batch will be failed. That impacts your Apex class. So always try to implement exception handling inside the execute method so that if one record fails the execution, that's fine. It will get outside, but the whole batch, whatever the batch size, if let's take 500 is a batch size, and if one record fails, the one record is failed, so other 499 records will be executed. So if you don't follow the exception handling inside the execute method, what happens when one record is failed? So other 499 records also will be failed. The total batch will be failed. So to avoid those kind of things, we will use exception handling inside the execute method. Keep logic in helper class if complex. So if the class is complex, if the logic is complex, what it is saying, you just write another class, and put your logic in that class, and call that class using execute method. So whenever your logic is complex, whenever your logic is too long, so what it is saying to you you just write your logic in another method, in another method, and after writing in another method, you just call that method in execute method. Understood? So got it? Why we need to use helper classes? So what is this helper class? You are just writing your whole logic in another class and calling that class inside the execute method. That is called helper class. Monitor jobs in Apex jobs in setup. Okay, monitor jobs. So how can you monitor these jobs? So, what are these jobs? What are these jobs? How we can monitor these jobs? What jobs mean? We have to know first that. Okay. So whatever the Apex batches you are running, whatever the batches you are running, so that particular batch is known as a job. Okay. That particular batch is known as job. So that jobs, if you want to monitor that jobs, if you want to know the status of that jobs, you just want to monitor by going to setup and going to Apex jobs. Okay. And why we need to use that? For tracking progress, and if there are any errors, we can track those errors via async Apex jobs. So for that, entering jobs from async Apex jobs are used, and use database.stateful if needed. So this database.stateful is also an interface, guys. This is also an interface. Let me tell you. So if you have two interfaces, if you want to implement two interfaces, and boilerplate code are similar. Can we say they are same because we reuse the code, right? So see, Pranit, what happens here? You're using that code, using that helper class code in only one class. For that logic is not reusable, but it is very complex. If it is very complex, even though it is not reusable, we will be writing in another class and calling that in execute method. It is why we are like, it is why because for avoiding the complex logics and n number of lines code in batch apex in batch class execute method. For avoiding those number of lines, we will use helper class. But we can't say helper class is pure boilerplate code or not a boilerplate code, because helper classes will be used for reusable code also, and also we will use either it is reusable or not. Okay, but we can't say that is purely a boilerplate code. Understand? We can't say that is purely a boilerplate code. Pranit, did you get? Okay, good. So if so sorry, I was about to ask one question, and as I was stuck reading your question. So okay, uh, I have two interfaces to implement. Now, see in this Excel sheet, database.batchable is an interface. Now I want to implement one more interface. Now I want to implement one more interface, that is database.stateful. How can I implement? What is the way to implement? I want to implement two interfaces at a single time. How? How can I implement that? Is that possible? We can implement is that possible to implement, or we can't implement like that? I want any one of these answers. Is there any way to implement? If it is there, please say me that way, or else say me pick any one of these choices. Okay, we can't implement like that, and you don't know the answer. Okay, so tell me one thing that we can implement both the interfaces at a single time or not. Can we implement those? Can we implement both interfaces at a single time to one class? Can we implement or not? Guys, think. If you don't know, please let me know that you don't know the answer. Guys, do you know or not know? Won't they cause errors if something is wrong with code? I think no. Okay. So if something is wrong with code, it will cause errors, Pranit. It will definitely cause errors if there is something wrong with code. But you are combining the code with class definition. It is not correct. Okay, you are combining the errors inside the class with the definition of class. Okay, implementation of interfaces will be done in the class definition, but the errors will cause inside the class. Correct? So, implementing two interfaces is correct, guys, if we can implement two interfaces for one class. Okay, we can implement. But how? Let me tell you. Let me tell you how to implement two interfaces for one single Apex class. See, I have to implement database.stateful here. Can't I use comma? Can't I use comma, guys? Comma separated interfaces. Can't I use that? So, I have written like this. My implementation is this. I will write using comma. I will write comma separated values here. This is my implementation. So, I don't know whether it is correct or not. But you people try to figure it out. Is that correct or not? Okay, I'll ask tomorrow. Or else you can say enough. Is that correct or not? Pranit, you are saying that is correct? Are you saying that process is correct, Pranit? Okay. Yes, yes, guys, it will work. Okay, that is correct. You can implement interfaces by using comma. Okay, we can use comma separate separated values. When you want to implement one more than one interface for one class, we can't write the class definition again and again, right? We can't write class definition again and again. So we'll go with the comma separated values for interfaces. That will correct. Okay, that is correct. We can implement that and that will work. It will work fine. Okay, it will work fine. That's good. So you guys are not sleeping, I think. Guys, it is a hectic time for you people to listen the class, right? So many people are not answering because of that. I've seen more people have answered me and have interacted with me when I started the session. I felt very happy when I started this session, you know. More people have many people have interacted with me at that time. But now the count is very low, the attendees are very less, and the people who are interacting is very less. So that I was not asking more questions to you guys because it is wasting of time. Many people are engaging with the physical sessions in their colleges, I think. Okay. So this is how we'll be implementing the more interfaces using one Apex class. Okay. This is the syntax. So we have seen what is the how to implement two interfaces using one class. But what is this database dot stateful? What is this database dot stateful? And there is one more interface called database dot stateless. What are these? Why we are using this stateful and stateless? Let us know now. Okay. Let's discuss about that now. So database.stateful in the sense, if you implement that interface for your Apex class, whenever you are performing a batches, whenever you are implementing number of batches, let's consider you have implemented 10 number of batches and you have implemented the database.stateful interface. Okay, then what happens in the first batch? In the first batch, uh, two records were failed. Okay, my batch size is 200, and in the first class, in the first batch, two records were failed. With upon 200 records, two records have been failed. So in the second batch, three records have failed. Three records are failed. In the third batch, four records are failed. Okay. Total how many records? 9 records have failed. Correct. So the remaining batches worked like the remaining batches executed successfully. All the records. The seven batches records have been successfully executed 200 records. Now we have 9 failed records. Correct? We have 9 failed records and those are different batches. 2 from batch 1, 3 from batch 2, 4 from batch 3. So how this will be how these failed records will be known by the user who have implemented the execution. How the person will know these many records have been failed. Okay, so whenever you use database.stateful interface, whenever you implement database.stateful interface, what happens is that every batch maintains a state. every batch maintains a state. So how many records have been executed successfully and how many records have been failed till first batch, since first batch started to ended, last batch that has ended. Okay, from first batch till last batch, it will maintain a state. It will maintain a state counting how many records have been successfully executed and how many records have failed. Okay, it will maintain a state. Understand? It will maintain a state. State in the sense it will send us a message if we want. It will send us a message. So in these 10 batches, 9 records have failed and the remaining records have been successfully saved. So successfully executed. So it will send these kind of messages. Okay. So this is called stateful. What happens if we implement stateless? So do we need to implement stateless? Do we need to implement stateless? No, we don't need to implement stateless. When we are not implementing stateful interface, that means we are implementing a stateless interface. So we we have we have we have two interfaces, stateful and stateless. But if we want to implement, so the default interface that have been implemented is stateless. Okay, it doesn't maintain state between batches. So if you want to maintain state between batches, you want to implement database.stateful. Understood? Guys, understood why we are using database.stateful and database.stateless? Understood? So it maintains state among batches and it does not maintain state among batches. Okay. Database.stateful is maintaining state among batches. Stateless is it doesn't maintain state among batches. And what is the default interface? Guys, you need to answer these questions, guys. Come on. What is the default interface? Guys, what is the default interface among database.stateful and database.stateless? I'm not moving forward if you are not answering these questions, guys. First answer the question and then I'll be moving forward. Okay. So, which maintains the state? Which maintains the state? Stateful or stateless? Okay. That's good. stateful maintains the state. That is about database dot stateful and database dot stateless interfaces. Okay. So now let me tell you about the three the three methods the three methods that will be overriding using database dot batchable interface. What are the three methods? Start, execute, and the next one is finish. These are the three methods which is used to which is overridden, which methods are overridden from database dot matchable interface. These are the three methods. What start method will do? Collects records from Salesforce database. Okay. Start method will collect the records from Salesforce database, and in the execute method, process the collected records in the start method. Processes the collected methods in the start method. What finish method will do? What finish method will do? Will do post execution things. Post execution things. Post execution things like, not things guys. Post execution works like sending an email or notifying the user. So this is the usage of three methods that is overridden from database matchable interface. These three methods are overridden from database batchable interface. Those three methods will do. What those three methods will do? What start method will do? What execute method will do? What finish method will do? Okay. We have across execute start method, execute method, and finish method. Okay. Now tell me guys, what start method will do? What will start method do? What is the main work of the start method? What is the main work of start method? What start method will do? Guys, tell me what start method will do. It will tell what data to process. It will collect the data from Salesforce database, guys. It will collect the data. Whatever the data is required for the process, it will collect that data from Salesforce database. Okay. Remember, guys. Remember. Let's see the example for database.batchable. Batch Apex. Okay. Batch Apex in Salesforce. So if you see how start method will start, what is the return for start method, database dot query locator or database or iterable of is object. This is the return type of start method. And what parameter we can pass to our start method, database dot batchable context. Okay, database dot batchable context. So let's see the example. Let us see the example. If you see here, guys, if you see here, this is the finish method. Okay, this is the finish method. I have already told you why finish method is used. Why finish method is used. It is used to configure the post execution works. If you want to send an email, we can send in the finish method. So that is what they are doing now. Okay, they are querying async apex job and also the email created by email from async apex job where id is. They got an id. Okay, so after getting an id, creating a class for creating an object for messaging dot single email message. Okay, messaging dot single email message. That is the class. And for that class, creating an instance. Okay, using that instance, where instance variable, they are setting an address, subject, and plain text body. After that, using send email action, using send email method, they are sending email to the particular person. Okay, sending an email to the particular person. That is how finish method works. Okay, so this is the example. This is the example for batch apex. So give me 1 minute, guys. I'll be back and you just go through that example. You just go through that example and I'll be Hello guys, are you going through the example? So let me explain that. So these are the variables. First, this is the class name. Search and replace is the class name. I have already created this class, I guess. Let me open that if it is there. Okay, so that I can explain better. Search and replace, right? Yes, I have already created. So let me open this. One second, guys. 1 second. It's taking time. Just give me 1 minute. Yes, it came. So see guys. Oh, it is not open. Let me open again guys. Please wait for a minute. So this is the method that I have been using. This is the batch apex method. Okay. This is the batch apex method. So if you see here, this is my class name. Search and replace. It is implementing database.batchable as object. Okay. It is implementing database.batchable interface. So if you see here, they have created four final variables, four string final variables. Okay. Why they have implemented this? Why they have created these final variables? Let's see now. Okay. Query in the sense for storing a query. Whatever query you have written, for storing that query variable is used. And why entity? On which object you are querying that? On which object you are writing a query? To store that object, entity is used. So field. Okay, field. On which field you are which field you are inserting into the database. Okay, that field name and which value for that field, what value you are providing. Okay, for that field, what value you are providing. So to store all that kind of stuff, we are using query, entity, field, value. These four variables. Okay. So the next thing is public search and replace. Can you say what is this, guys? Can you guys answer what is this? Public search and replace. What we call that? See, it is same like a class name. It is same like a class name, but it is not a class. Correct? It is same like a class name, but it is not a class. And also, as we are using same name, we did not get any error that duplicate class name. Correct? So what is that? What is this called? Guys, do you know the answer or not? If you don't know, please say no so that I can explain. If you don't say even no, I'm moving forward and not telling what is that search and replace meaning. Okay. So I'm giving you only 1 minute time. Just tell me. Okay. Okay, Pranit. So we call this as constructor. Have you heard this word? Constructor. We call it as constructor. That is, constructor is same. Constructor is same like a class name. Okay. Same like the class name. So we are passing variables into the constructor. String Q. Q in the sense query. E in the sense entity. F for field. V for value. And we know that Q means query. E means entity. Correct? But code doesn't know. But the machine doesn't know. So we have to tell the machine that query means Q, entity means E, field means F, value means V. So for that, we have written these statements, these four statements. Okay, to tell machine that these Q, E, F, V means query, entity, field, and value. So to say that thing to the machine, we have used we have used these four statements. Okay. So after that, the start method comes into picture. What start method will do? Collect the records from Salesforce database. So database.queryLocator is the method. Database.queryLocator is the return type here. What it returns? What it returns? Records. Okay, it will return a records. Correct. The start method is taking database.batchable context as parameter and returning database.getQueryLocator is the method. Okay, getQueryLocator is the method. What this method will do? What this method will do? It will take query as input and return the records for that query. Okay, as it is returning the records, our data type is, our return type is database.queryLocator. Okay, it will return the records. Understand? So now execute method will come into picture. Public void execute method, that it doesn't return anything. So we have put return type as void. Okay, database.batchable context. It will take parameter database.batchable context and list of records that we got from start method. Okay, that we got from start method. The list of records that we got from start method. And for that list, looping over that list of records, and here see s dot put field comma value. What is this field comma value? Okay, field comma value. So for that we are updating the records. For which records we are updating? The records that we have queried. Okay, the records that we have queried, we are updating those records. We are updating those records with s dot, s in the sense in variable, s dot put. Put method is used to add the fields and values to that record. Okay, what is the field I am updating? Let's take it as industry. Okay, let's take it as industry. What value I am giving? I will give banking. Okay, I will give banking and update scope. It is updating the records. Okay, this is how batch apex is used. Same like the apex methods, but here the three methods we have to override. Okay, the main difference is to override the three methods. Understand? This is about batch apex. And if you want to send those accounts, if you want to send an email for those accounts, you can send using finish method. Okay. So that is about batch apex. So guys, if you have any queries, please let me know. And you guys have a quiz today. Okay, you guys have a quiz today. So guys, can I know who are from EL program? Can you guys please raise your hands who are from EL program? Bemisetti, can you please lower your hand? Okay. So guys, I want to know who are from EL program, not from NASCOM program, guys. who are from EL program. Guys, quick. I want to know who guys are from EL program. Guys, I'm asking you who are from EL programs. Okay. So the NASCOM people who are from NASCOM people, NASCOM program, can you please raise your hands? Okay. Only 5 people? Guys, by mistake, I was lowered your hands. So kindly please raise again. The people who are from NASCOM program, please raise your hands. Only 4. Raise quick. Raise your hands fast. Guys who are from NASCOM, please raise your hands. Only 4? Okay. Now who are from EL program? The people who are from EL program, please raise your hands. Guys who are from EL program, please raise your hands. Lohit, are you from NASCOM or EL? Lohit. But why you are raising hands then? I recently joined, ma'am. Don't know, but I joined through NASCOM group. Then you are from NASCOM only, no, Geeta? Guys, whoever are from EL program, I I came to know that there are 17 people in this session from EL program. Can you please raise your hands? So nobody from EL program have joined the session. Okay, guys. Okay. Please give me a minute. Okay, guys. Today we'll be conducting a quiz for every student in this session. So everyone in this session should attend the quiz. Okay. I'll be sending you the link within 10 minutes. Okay. So until then, we'll be have you understood this example? Have you understood this example, guys? So I'll be sending you the quiz link within 10 minutes. Okay. So everyone please make sure that you guys are attending the quiz. Okay. So this is about batch epics. I hope you guys have understood what is batch epics and why we'll be using batch epics. So I have explained you the syntax of the batch epics. And see guys, for start method, we have two types of return types. Okay, one is database.query locator and the other one is iterable. The other one is iterable. It also returns the records from Salesforce database. But we want to create new custom account iterable. New in the sense we are creating an object. Okay, we have to create an instance for that class. Instance for custom account iterable class. Okay, in the return statement. So this is the difference between iterable and database.query locator. The rest all are same. Okay. So if you want to query the job, you can query using this async apex job object. This is the object name, async apex job. Okay. Select ID, status, job items processed, total job items, number of errors. So these are the fields. From async apex job. This is the object name. Okay, this is the object name. So if you want to query, you can query using this async apex job object. Okay, so if you want to execute this batch apex, we need to execute using execute batch method. If you see here, we want to execute. If you want to execute, we can execute using database.execute batch method. Okay, execute batch method. Understand? In this parenthesis, we have to give the instance of the class. We have to give instance of the class as parameter for this parenthesis, for this execute batch method. Okay, so let me explain you. I want to execute search and replace method. Now how can I execute? Click on Control E. So delete this and I want to execute ID. So how can I execute? If you see here, ID, batch process ID. Okay, they are querying they are storing that in a ID. They are getting that in a ID. So we also do that. Batch ID equals to database dot execute batch. Database dot execute batch. So we use database dot execute batch method. Okay, this is the execute batch method. So here we want to write new, create an instance of our class, new search and replace. New search and replace, right? So this is the process. Let me execute this. I have a constructor not defined. I have defined the constructor. Acha, okay. This is not a, no shit. What happens? 1 second, guys. This is the correct one. But why it is not? 1 second, guys. Let me show you. So when we want to execute, we have to use this method only, database.execute batch method. So if you see here, if you go down, there will be examples, guys. So same example they have run here. Acha, okay. This we have to give this. Okay, I understood now. Let me copy this. So the first thing is we have to mention what are these Q, E, F, V. Okay, our constructor taking a parameters Q, E, F, V. But in the previous method, what I have done, I'm not providing the values in this constructor so that I'm getting an error. Now understood, right? So what we have to do now? So the query is select industry from account limit 10. We are querying the account object, and which object, entity, account, which field, industry, and the which value you have to provide, consulting. If you click on execute, now batch instance ID, we are getting a batch instance ID, right? So let's debug that. System.debug batch instance ID. Okay, let's debug batch instance ID and click on execute. Update account fields. Achha. Okay. Search and replace. This is our class name. And also have not saved the class, guys. Okay, 1 second. Have not saved the class. Let it be saved, guys. Let it be saved. So it is saved. Now let me execute. I have mentioned how many batches I want. I want 5 batches. Okay, I want 5 batches. So 10 records, 5 batches in the sense each batch contains 2 records. Okay, each batch contains 2 records. Let me execute. Let me click on execute. So let me click on debug only. So this is the job ID. Let's check if the job ID, like if the job is processed or not. Okay, click query editor. ID status from async apex job where ID equals to, let me execute this. So see, it is completed. Okay, it is completed. So the running of this, like the search and replace method class has run successfully. Understand? The status of the job, batch job is completed. Okay, that is the process of batchable apex, batch apex. Okay, I hope you guys have understood this. What is batch apex and how we should run. So now I'll be providing the link, guys. I will be providing you the assessment link, not exactly assessment. I'll be providing you the quiz link. So participate in that quiz. Guys, everyone should participate in that quiz. Hope you have understood why this quiz and all. Okay. So please cooperate with us. Participate in this link quiz. Okay. Fast, guys. Everyone. NASCOM people also should participate in this quiz. Okay, NASCOM people also. Yes. Everyone in this session should participate in the quiz. Everybody in this session should participate in the quiz. Once you have done, please let me know, guys. Once you have done, please let me know. Okay. So they have not enabled to select two correct answers. Is that allowing to? Um, Okay, then choose one correct option. Okay, choose one correct option. LMS portal. I don't know Geeta Dharani. Done. Okay. Okay, Pranik, that's good. So everyone done, guys? Once it is done, please let me know. Everyone. Okay, okay, Geeta. So once it is done, everyone please let me know. Self-paced course. Geeta, do you got any update over on that? I don't know that you people may have self-paced courses or not. If you have any update over that, you may have. I don't know about that. What mail you got there, Rani? Okay, Lalita. Same there, Rani. Those are same. Salesforce developer and Salesforce. I think only the Salesforce developer course is rare. There are no two courses named Salesforce developer and Salesforce. There is only one that is called Salesforce developer. If you got any such mails, you just do one thing. I have already told you that if you got any mails from SmartBridge, you just contact the support team of our SmartBridge. I have given you email ID teamsip@thesmartbridge.com. You just mail them that I've got that mails. So what I have to do now? Ask them what you have to do. So they'll give you a support. Self-paced learning. Acha, you're talking about the calendar self-paced learning. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you about that. Okay, I don't know exactly. I'll contact with my manager and I'll tell you. Okay. Okay. So everyone done, guys. Guys, everyone completed the quiz. Okay. So do you have any queries, guys? Whoever are not completed quiz, can you please raise your hands? Okay, Dharani, I'll share. 1 second. Dharani, this is the Telegram link. I have sent it. It is coming. Just wait for a minute, okay? Beami Shetty, have you not completed the quiz yet? Okay, that's fine. Guys, whoever are not completed with quiz, can you please raise your hands? Okay, continue. The remaining people, whoever are not completed, can you please raise your hands? Bemisati, once it is done, please let me know, okay? So I think you're the only person left with completing. For Salesforce, there is a separate group. No, Geeta, it is not there. There is only one group for this Akshay Ascom internships, and everybody is there in that group. Okay, there is no separate group. Bemisati, is it done? Make it fast. There are only 10 questions, right? How much time you need? Make it fast, guys. Okay, guys, then let's wind up the session for today. Okay. So, Bemisati, just complete your quiz. You have opened that quiz, right? You have opened that quiz using that link, correct? Have you opened or not? How to open? Bemisati, you have not opened that? Just click on that link. Quiz will be opened, right? Click on that link I have provided to you. Click on this link. After clicking on that link, you will be opening with a Google form. Just fill out that form and participate in the quiz. Okay? Okay. Okay, that's fine, Bhimiseti. So, guys, let's wind up the session for now. Okay. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.